Hello and welcome back to ESBR Boxing's YouTube channel. Delighted to once again be joined by Ra Hokum as we look to cover a potential pound for pound all-time great. Before we get into the actual video, if you like our content, guys, please subscribe, leave a comment, like the video, and let us know what you think on our boxing thoughts. Ra, Terence Crawford. It was a brilliant win against Madrimov. He stepped up another weight. I think he's finally reached his limit. I can't see him putting any more on. I think he's not the biggest at 147, let alone going any higher. When you look at Terence Crawford, what do you see next for him? He had that major grudge match against Errol Spence. He's gone on now, obviously, to fight Madrimov, four-weight world champion. He is getting towards 40 years of age. What do you see next for Terence Crawford?
Well, based on the little bit of Twitter spat between two very wealthy men in Canelo Alvarez and Turki Al-Sheikh, looks like that avenue is closed off. I'm really disappointed because actually I'm one of the few people that was fairly confident that Bud could have gone up to 168 and beaten Canelo. I'd have been happy to do a more in-depth analysis as to why, but now that that fight looks like it's dead in the water, I guess there's no point going into that. Yeah, what's next? Again, looking at what a lot of our colleagues on Twitter are saying, and you may know more about this than me, they're saying that Bud is mandatory for Fundora's WBC and WBO titles. Now, I often zone out with these alphabet title politics. I can't keep track of the rules. I always thought that once you win one of the titles, you get removed from all the other governing bodies' rankings. But then he was the WBO mandatory off the back of that, super champion status that he had at welterweight. So, yeah, you got all of that goofy stuff. Personally, I think Fundora is the best route for him. As him and his team have said, doesn't have many fights left. At this point, it's all about, I guess, cementing that all-time great legacy. The reason I say Fundora is because he's inadvertently found himself with two of the belts, WBC and WBO titles. So it would make sense for Bud to fight him, presumably beat him, and then he's just got the winner of Murtazaliev and Zhu for the full set, and that would be undisputed in 3 different weight classes consecutively. So if he can't get the Canelo fight, that's the next best route, I think, for really cementing that all-time great status. But things change quickly with these governing bodies. They got interim title holders, they've got other mandatories. I don't know, but that's who I would think makes sense for him next. But I don't know. Again, do you know what is Fundora's situation? Last we heard, he's out for a while with a broken nose. Is that still the case?
How long do you think, based off what you said there, I think you've made some great points, but how long realistically do you think we've got Terence Crawford for? How many more fights? Because he's 41 fights into a 16-year career. He's 37 in September. He's fought some great champions. He's got some great names on his CV now. Obviously he's got Madrimov, Errol Spence, Amir Khan, Benavidez Jr. He's getting a CV that's deserving of his ability towards the latter stage of his career. Realistically, how many more fights do you think we can see, especially as he's jumping up in weight at such a late stage in his career? How long do you think we've got left with Crawford at the top?
I think it will depend what sort of fights they are. At the level he's now competing at, I really think he's only got 2 or 3 more. And it will depend who those 2 or 3 are. I mean, if he was to fight Boots Ennis, that's the sort of fight that, although he can win, I think that will drain a lot of what's left of his tank. The same with someone like Virgil Ortiz Jr. He can win, but it will cost him an almighty, amount in terms of mileage. But these other guys who, although again are exceptional, I mean, I do think super welterweight is probably now the most stacked division in the world, maybe apart from maybe super light. Um, I still think even guys like your Fundoras, your Zeus, uh, even Charlo, if the shell of what he is comes back, he's still, I guess, the lineal champion at 154. Um, I think he can get a good three out of those sort of guys. So if he is going to go on an undisputed run at 154 with the current belt holders and or Charlo, if you want to put him in the mix as, you know, the lineal champ, yeah, I think he's got three in him. But like I said, a couple of those elite upcoming talents, in particular Boots Ennis and Virgil Ortiz Jr., if he fights one of them, whether he wins or loses, I think that he wouldn't really have much left in him after that. I think it's a real shame Charlo went a bit goofy after the Canelo defeat, because the logical thing would have been Bud to challenge him still as undisputed super welterweight champ, having been the reigning undisputed welterweight champ. But it's where we are. So yeah, based on the sort of guys they're talking about, I think he's got two or three more left in him.
I think it's more than fair, you know, especially when you add in weight later on in your career. If you're trying to go back down, if it doesn't work out, you know, adding weight on, weight cutting after that, it definitely takes its toll, especially as, you know, I think Madrimov was a bit closer than some people would have expected. You know, I've seen a lot of people pre-fight build-up saying Crawford was going to knock him out and cement himself with an elite performance almost, and it was a lot closer than many expected. So I definitely agree. I think it's a case of we will see Crawford out a couple more times, but they will be sort of not necessarily blockbuster fights, because I think you'd need Canelo's name to do so, but they will be sort of top level fights. Guys, let us know down in the comments below. Do you agree with me and Ra? Do you actually think the Canelo fight could still happen, or is that completely dead in the water? As I said before, like, comment, subscribe, and let me know down below. Ra, thank you once again for joining me tonight.